Hey guys, welcome to ITS Tactical. Today we're going to be making a set of pace count beads using nothing more than a short length of paracord and a couple of craft beads. FYI, if you go to the craft store and you purchase a bulk pack of craft beads or multiple packs of craft beads like we did for the mustard just a couple weeks ago, you may get some questions like, hey, are you guys making bracelets? So there you go. Anyhow, so this utilizes 13 of those little plastic beads. There's different beads you can get. There's even some cool skull beads you can get if you surf eBay and things like that, so you might want to check those out too. But the method we'll show you today will make this really easy. Sometimes it can be a pain to thread these beads onto the paracord and tie the knots, and I'll kind of give you some measurements to shoot for when we're making these. So let's zoom in and we'll get right into making one of these. Okay guys, so the basic premise behind pace count beads is to track your distance traveled. So utilizing these pace count beads, a little bit like an abacus, I guess you could call it that. What you're going to do is every 100 meters you travel, you're going to pull down a bead. So the way you come up with how you travel 100 meters is through the use of a pace line. So at the muster, what we had set out is we had a 100-meter line that was basically set up, and we had everyone walk that 100-meter line one way and the other way. I won't get into pace line work too much right now. I'll actually link to an article that we did previously in ITS about pace lines, and I'll try to integrate some small amounts of that information into this article on ITS for the pace count beads. But basically the premise is once you get to that distance or your pace count, you pull down a bead, so that way you know you traveled 100 meters. Once you get to 9 of those distances, so you've traveled 900 meters, right before you hit 10 or 1,000 meters, you pull down a top bead, signifying 1,000 meters. So the top beads signify 1,000 meters, the bottom beads signify 100 meters. Once you've pulled down a top bead, you reset the bottom stack into the up position, and you continue to pull down and count. The next 900 or 1,000 you get to, you pull down another one. So that's the basic premise behind the paracord beads. The pace count beads. So to create one of these, first you're going to start with a 26-inch strand of paracord. This is already pre-cut and I've fused the ends, so make sure you fuse the ends once you pull the guts out of your paracord. So this is gutted paracord. Don't throw away the guts of your paracord, because once you have that gutted paracord, you're actually going to utilize one of the guts, and you'll see me do that in a second. So make sure you hang on to at least one of those when you pull it out. So these are 13 different beads, and as I mentioned, you're going to need those craft beads to do this. The first step in this is to take that section of paracord, find the midpoint, and you're basically going to have it. Paracord has a funky way of laying sometimes, so I like to always kind of come along with my fingers here and flatten it out so I know I'm definitely in the right spot here. But what you're going to do is get that midpoint, so you want the ends to match up, and you're going to tie an overhand knot. So as I'm tying this overhand knot, I'm going to ensure that those lines are staying stacked on each other. Now, you'll kind of see what I'm talking about here in a second. But I'm going to tighten this up as close to the bottom as I can, still leaving a little bit of a tail. But as this tightens up, you'll see that that overhand knot tightens. Excuse me, can't talk today. And as it tightens, those two lines or the two strands of paracord are going to overlap each other, just making for a nicer knot. So one of my little pet peeves on this. The next step is to take that paracord gut, and what you're going to do is find that bite or the midpoint there that you halved before. You're going to thread on through that paracord gut, and you're also going to find the midpoint of the gut. So basically what you're working with here now is you've got the midpoint of the paracord and the midpoint of the gut. And with that, you're going to start threading on your beads at the end of the paracord gut. So I'm going to make sure that those ends match up, and I'm just going to do one here to begin with. But what you want to do is you slide that bead down the paracord gut and onto paracord. Otherwise, without this, you'd have a real hard time squeezing these beads on the paracord. Wind up probably cussing a few times before you got through it. So the gut makes it really easy to do this, because all you do is kind of hold the gut in your hand, hold onto the bead, and just pull down, and it pops onto the paracord. So I'm going to go ahead and slide that all the way down to the bottom. So that's one. I'm going to need 8 more to make up that 9 on the bottom section. So I will take 8 more here, leaving us with 4
for the top section. And I'm just going to thread these on. And I want to demonstrate that you can do these all at once in a stack. So we'll thread all 8 of these on here. And I'll pull them down and demonstrate how to do that. Got 2 more here. And last one. Okay, so now we've got our stack of 8. 3, 6, 8. Make sure I got one down there. And I'm just going to grab that entire stack there and pull those all the way down to the bottom. So now we've got our 9 on the bottom, and the measurement here is about 2 finger lengths. So you'll take that measurement and you'll find that point, and that's where we put our next overhand knot. So I'm going to remove this paracord gut temporarily. I'm going to tie this next overhand knot, thread that through. And before I pull it tight, I'm going to make sure it's cleaned up, and I check my spacing again to make sure I've got those 2 finger lengths there on the bottom. Alright, so that's roughly about 2 finger lengths. Tighten up my knot. And now we're going to put on the last 4. So again, same process. Thread on the paracord gut until we find the midpoint. And put on our last stack of 4 here. And there's all kinds of beads you can find out there, as I think I mentioned, but you can find skull beads sometimes on eBay and some kind of other funky beads. You could even use glow-in-the-dark beads if you wanted to, if you're not worried about giving away position or anything like that. So those are the last 4. I'm going to pull those down until I hit the knot. Make sure that's cleaned up there. And the last step in this, remove that paracord gut again. And basically I'm going to make sure I have at least about, I'd say, a finger length. You could go 2 on this one too, but I like to do it a little shorter, maybe a finger length and a half or so. And I'm going to tie a last overhand knot in this. So again, you want to make sure you have enough of a loop here to be able to girth hitch this, and that's what I'll get into here in a second. But I'm going to tighten that up. And there you go. So now all you have to do is take this around, strap on a pack, or TAD pants have that little, I don't know if you can kind of see that in focus, it's probably out of focus, but they've got that little D-ring on their pants. That's a great way to put that on there. I didn't think about that till we were at the muster, and I saw a couple guys from TAD doing that on their pants, so I thought that was a cool idea. But backpack strap for me is the easiest because I can reach up. I can be basically navigating with the compass in my left hand and just reach up with my right hand and pull down those beads as I'm going. But anyhow, girth hitch is simply, just wrapping it around like this, threading it through itself, and doing one of those numbers there. So you can girth hitch that around anything really. So there you have it. That's how to create your own pace count beads. Hopefully you guys liked the knot of the week. Be sure to let us know if you have any questions in the comments, and thanks for watching.